everyone. I hope you're having a great week. In this video, I wanted to share with you a potential resource for prompting with generative AI through an education lens. Um, Prompting, we know, is the way we communicate with these chatbots with the generative AI to tell it what it is we're looking for. And obviously, the better the prompt, the better the output. But sometimes, because AI is so new to us, we don't fully grasp all the potential there is, or we don't think about all the options we have. You're really only limited by your creativity and your persistence with this. So, through all of my ratings, I found a group called the AI Fluency Lab. The person spearheading it is Matt Miller. He is an author, an educational speaker, a blogger. He's best known for Ditch That Textbook, but he has been on the educational AI scene since probably before ChatGPT dropped. He does a lot of reading and writing on it, a lot of speaking on it. I know he has a couple books out on it. But he and his partners, Holly Clark and Ken Shelton, both also strong educational technologist speakers and lecturers and authors. They put a whole course together, and within it was this Educator Elements of Prompting. And it is just a genius way to think about this as teachers, modeled after the periodic table of elements. So you can see, you've got the single letter or double letter abbreviation, the single word that kind of tells what it's about, and then a short description. I see it in rows and columns. I see different colors. So I'm assuming like this black one would go with these black ones here, and these yellow ones must have something in common, and these red. Then you look at the bottom and you get the color key. Prompt foundation, those are the black ones. Output, that's your hot pink. Cognitive engagement, red. So just this one page is amazing, but they go into a lot more detail. For example, the basics of any prompt, whether you are in education or finance or construction or whatever, you need to give the chatbot some more information than just make a list. You might give it a task. You might give it a specific role or persona. Act like a third grade teacher. Act like a general contractor preparing a bid. Act like a whatever. You may give some examples. You can upload actual documents, or you might just describe some to give it kind of some patterns to latch onto. You might give it specific source material. Using this image, can you create another image in the same style? You could give it objectives, context. I'm teaching in an 8th grade honors classroom with 18 boys and 19 girls. You'd never have a class that big. Please God, you never have a class that big. I have 20 gifted students and 2 who struggle with executive functioning skills or whatever. You might connect to academic or curricular standards, and you could really get emotional with it. I don't know how much I love that one, but that's my personal preference. I don't think it should be able to read my emotions. I have occasionally told it I need better work out of it, but I don't know that I was emotional about it. So these black colored tiles are the great place to start, and I would never do all 8. I would pick a couple. I always do task and role. Examples when they fit. You pick and choose what fits your context, right? But then how can we extend that? Because none of this is educational yet. Standards got close. Well, here's the audience and some differentiation. Do you want to tell it to build in scaffolding? Do you want to tell it, maybe you need scaffolds for English language learners? Maybe you need scaffolds for someone who is reading significantly below grade level. Maybe you want to ask it to pay attention to cultural relevance. So if you're going to be more culturally responsive, if there are particular needs or levels you're addressing, if you want to include student voice, if you need language support for your EL students or those who have other communication disabilities, you can throw that information in. Again, you may not need them all. You may not need any of them. Depends on the prompt. But sometimes just seeing the tile will make you go, oh, I can't forget so and so. This is going to be perfect for them, right? Cognitive engagement. You can talk about how you want them addressing whatever the task is. And let's say you're planning it for students. How do you want these students involved? Do you want them engaged in reflection? Do you want them at a certain level of blooms or a DOK level? How do you want them interacting? Is this an independent activity or partners or small groups? Um, if you're working on something that's just for you, it's an administrative side, you might not use common engagement. However, that misconceptions one could be a really good one. Play devil's advocate. Tell me some of the misconceptions I am presenting in this prompt. The output enhancement, this is just to really kind of tighten up and make even closer to perfect what your final product is. So if you need it in a certain tone, yeah, explain it like you're Taylor Swift. If you under 150 words, if you need to set a limit on it, or in several paragraphs. If you have other limitations as far as time, I want an activity that will take 15 minutes in my classroom. If you need an answer key or sample answers, all of these are great. And now so many of them can include visuals. You can specify the format and get an actual artifact like in Claude where it pops it up right there. You can tell it, I would like this in a 3-column chart. I would like this in a bulleted list. And if you want it translated, all of those can just make your final output better. But they're going to have to tack on to other things you had already said, right? Because this alone would not tell it enough. Instructional practices, these are great. Just to remind you, hey, it could probably create any of these and more that are not here. I love this UD for the UDL, Universal Design for Learning, checks for understanding. Sometimes we feel like we do the same. Okay, fist to 5, how well do you understand? Maybe it can come up with some options for you on that. Act like a third grade teacher who wants alternatives for checks for understanding beyond fist to 5. Can you find some that are independent or partner based? However you want to do it. Extension and feedback. This is usually after you've gotten your first response, so more of the iterative process when you push back. You could ask it to find holes. You can ask it to improve it. You can ask it to add more this, that, or the other, more resources. You can ask the AI, and sometimes it offers unsolicited, what else would you suggest for this lesson? Or what could some next steps be? All of these are fantastic. Classroom management. Sometimes those things you've been doing, they're just not working anymore, and the kids are not responding. Maybe you go in here and explain the problem and ask for a new routine for getting out writers' notebooks, a new routine for XYZ. How do we engage our students? Lots of options here. I do like the surprise. I would not have thought to say, insert several surprises throughout the lesson and tie them to, I don't know, professional football if that's one of my students' interests. That would be a fun thing to add. Do you see how it starts to trigger some creativity? And then finally, the connections. Because most of these now remember your conversations. So if you've built previous lessons, ask it to refer back to another one. But you can also refer to standards. So it could refer to previous years, connect to the real world, connect to other contents. These are great ideas you might not have thought of to start with. The best thing is what he's going to show you here. You start combining them. Give the AI a role and a task. Tell it to present it at you're a 5th grade math teacher, and I need a set of 10 word problems that use double digit addition. Not a math teacher, don't judge. Please create a set for struggling math students, so slightly below grade level. Create a set for students on grade level, so at the instructional level, and create a set with some stretch and challenge for my higher learners. And then I could specify, please put this in a worksheet format, leaving ample space between each question for students to show their work. See what I get out of that. That's the prompt I would make, what I just said there. So you just start combining these to see how this would turn out. I love that it's, here's your role and task, here's some examples, give me what misconceptions I might have to do. And then what's a reflection piece my students could use? Oh, questions, but differentiated. Give it a role and a task. Give it the levels, and you can be as specific as you want. Maybe in reading, you know their Lexile level. You say, okay, I need questions for Lexile levels. I have students ranging from 265 to 1720. Please create sets in chunks of 150 Lexile points on a specific demand, and then if you need to include any student needs. So I think just going back to that main page, once you understand what all of these are, would this not be an amazing little kind of visual aid to have handy when you're planning a lesson, when you're working on something for your classroom, to just go, okay, I need output. Okay, how am I going to do output? Oh, yeah, I should ask about giving an answer key. Just wanted to throw this out there as another way to look at prompting that's specifically from an educator's lens. Hope you like this. Matt Miller is definitely one to check out. He has a lot of great resources. I know a couple are in this actual module. So I hope this helps. Let me know if you have questions.